Yeah, so farmers are always a very creative lot, and the situation is really difficult for them because many of the places they've been sending their food, just aren't able to accept it. And so, one thing that I thought was really interesting is, farmers markets have always been relevant to small producers, but of course, right now you can't do that. So, one thing that they've been doing is they've been creating drive-through farmers markets, and so I think that's great. People drive through, and then they're able to pick out the stuff that they want. Another thing that they're doing, though, is they're actually allowing people to come and pick their own food on the farm. And so that's been able to allow consumers to come and get food at a lower price. And then the third thing is that they're partnering with organizations, whether that is food companies or organizations like Feeding America that are getting that food. And so they're able to come to the farm and gather food and take it to the people who need it.
Are there still any issues regarding supply chain when it comes to some of the smaller farmers?
Well, yeah, I mean, supply chain issues are relevant from the smallest farmer to the largest farmer. And when you think about the supply chain, you have, small production that are doing things like, pork and beef, just like the large guys, and maybe they're only processing 200 animals a day, but, they still have the same challenges with distribution. You have to have people who can work in those facilities. You have to be able to have transportation to get the products to market, and so distribution could continue to be a challenge for the smaller folks as well.
I noticed another interesting partner for smaller farmers and farmers in general are area restaurants because they've closed. And I noticed just in DC, there are several restaurants who've made produce available to the larger community. So or in addition to ordering a meal to go, you can also take away some vegetables.
Yeah, so restaurants are really having to hustle right now because so many of them have closed down or just have such decreased demand that they have to find new ways of increasing the revenue. But also, many of them are sitting on supply and they don't know what to do with it. And so, there have been a lot of creative things that they've been doing as well. One of them you mentioned that people are coming in and they're picking up food that they've had prepared, but then the restaurants are also selling some of the products that they have. And one of the things that's good about that is that FDA has created some flexibility regarding labeling and packaging.
And Jack, we know that the growing season, the harvesting season, it's not going to stop despite this pandemic. I mean, it still has to go on. So,
Mhm.
how long can these farmers go on, and what else can they do with their crops?
Yeah, so right now, we're kind of coming towards the end of the planting season, and it's a really challenging time for farmers because they don't know what the market is going to look like 6 months from now or a year from now. And I think when we think about the livestock industry, it's a good example because it takes about 300 days for when you impregnate the sow to the time that it's ready to go to processing. So that means decisions that people are making today impact what our availability is nearly a year from now. And if you're squeezed in terms of your finances, then you have to make a decision about, do I start a 300-day process, not knowing what the future may hold, or do I, cut back a little bit in order to reduce my costs? And so they're in a difficult position, and I think that's one of the things that the administration wants to try to give some comfort to producers to know, yes, take those chances, make sure that make a stable supply chain so that we know in the fall that food will be available as well.